It's the end of December and we have had the shortest days, so the days are getting longer. And because in England we have such a mild winter, we are able to start lifting and digging the trees from out of the ground to start making into Japanese garden trees or as bonsai. As you can see, we have these large Japanese yews and maples which have been dug up from the ground, and if we walk around we can see the vast array of trees that we have. On our 8-acre site, more than half the nursery is devoted to growing our own trees. So more than half of all the trees we sell on the nursery are actually produced on the nursery here. So let's take a walk around and see the different trees that we have. We grow a lot of maples and we also grow a lot of pines on the nursery, pines and yews. This is an example of a European hornbeam. As you can see, the trunk diameter is almost 15 or 18 inches across at the base. And these have been grown in the field for the last 30 years and they're well on their way to becoming bonsai. So as you can look around here, there are all sorts of trees which are waiting to be dug up or repotted recently, and this is where the bonsai start. This, as you can see, is a large Japanese grey bark elm, Zelkova serrata. This has been grown for only the last 10 years, but you can see the thickness of the trunk. This tree will probably be air-laid over here so that we have a shorter bonsai and another bonsai at the top. This is English yew that we've been growing in the field for the last 30 years. They were only about pencil thick, and in 30 years they become 4 to 5 inches in diameter. So they've been dug up and they've been cut hard back. They were about 3 meter tall, cut back to about 60 or 70 centimeter, and then we're going to grow the branches again. So we have hundreds of these waiting to be made into bonsai. And look at that for a juniper. Look at the trunk of this one. This is a large Trident Maple that we've been growing in the field. This Trident Maple has been grown in the field for the last 20 years, and you can see the size of the trunk. But because it's a tall tree, I'm making an air layering from the top, so I'll get a small tree from this and the bottom part will make the other tree. This is a large English yew that we dug up about 5 years ago, and as you can see, it's got a beautiful trunk and already looking like a bonsai. A lot of people have expressed interest in this, so it will go to the right home when the time comes. This is Japanese larch. We grow these as garden trees. So although they may be a bit large for bonsai, they will end up as nice Japanese garden trees. We produce thousands of maples at Herons. Some we grow from seed, some are produced from cuttings. These are seedlings which are about 2 or 3 years old. We keep cutting it because we don't like to let them get too big. And these are trees which are about 5 to 6 years old. So as you can see, there are thousands of them. Some we keep in pots, and they are grown in pots throughout their lives. Can you see, this is a beautiful one, almost ready for bonsai. But we also grow quite a few in the ground to thicken up. Now, these are maples that we planted in the ground 2 years ago, and they were planted as 2-year-old seedlings. So these plants are about 5 or 6 years old, but in the next few years, I'm not going to lift them, they will really thicken in size. I will show you some that we planted 6 or 7 years ago. These maples were all planted 6 years ago, but as you can see, some have remained thin. They're all the same age. This one is the same age as this one, but see what a big difference there is in the trunk. And this one is even thicker. So this tree will probably be cut down to about this high, and then we'll grow it again as bonsai. So all these maples are due to be lifted in the spring. Today I'm going to show you how I'm going to tackle this great big beast of a maple. Japanese maples are usually delicate trees, and they are meant to be very feminine type trees with slender trunks. But as I like large bonsai, I sometimes make maples that have large trunks like this. This maple has a long history. When I first got it, it was no more than about 2 centimeters or 1 inch in diameter. And we grew it in our field for the first 10 years. And after 10 years, it was lifted from the field and then put in a flower pot. I left it in the flower pot for the next 10 years, so that makes 20 years of growing, in which time the trees went round and round. They're such vigorous trees that maples can sometimes grow their roots through the flower pots and into the ground. And this is exactly what this tree has done. Can you see the roots have just gone round and round in the flower pot and sunk itself deep into the ground. So about 3 years ago, I took that flower pot out of the ground and put it in a larger container like this. This container must be at least, I would say, 65 or 70 centimeter in diameter, and this is where it has been for the last 2 or 3 years. And of course, this is the time I feel I should do something to it. As you can see, this is a very powerful looking tree, but the roots are really ugly. I've shown this tree to a number of customers, and in fact they like the look of these roots. They think that it's very interesting and can make a feature. But for the true bonsai person, these roots are really ugly because they go round and round. So before I do anything else, I think we will have to get rid of these roots so that it becomes more appealing. I'm going to now also determine which I use as the front and which I use as the back. So let me roll this tree onto a turntable. Now, finding the front of the tree is a very important step in creating any bonsai. Until you find the front of the tree, you cannot really proceed to design the tree. So let's look at this tree from all its different angles. I will turn the tree around slowly, and you can observe what I have done over the years. There was a very big side branch which I cut off, and it's healing very nicely. I've also cut off large thick branches there, but I've left some of these branches. So let us continue turning the tree around, and we will see which side has potential for being the front. Let's begin here. This can be interesting because the leader is coming that way and you can't see the cut which is behind. So this has potential, but I wouldn't say it is the best side. This could also be interesting because it's very wide there, but this is coming straight at you. So unless I cut this off completely, this hasn't got much merit in being the front. Of course, this is also very interesting. If I can chop the tree down to about this high, I can make a nice short bonsai from this. So this is possible as well as a front. So that's worth bearing in mind. But if I turn it a little more, my preferred option would be somewhere here. Although this is a cut here, they will heal over nicely. I could also carve it and make it a hollow trunk tree, and this could end up as a nice taper because you can see the taper is already forming quite well. So that's a possibility. So I will begin by getting rid of some of these very long branches. These branches have only grown in the last 2 years, and you can see how vigorous these trees are. I think the next thing I will do is to try and get some of these ugly roots out, and I'm going to explore to see where these big roots go down. See, I'm using a crowbar. This is a very ugly root, so I'm going to get rid of this one. Don't need this one. This is such a big job that I've got to use a pickaxe. Although I'm using a pickaxe, it's really a crude form of axe. So it's no different from chopping a tree with an axe. So I'm just chopping some of the roots with this pickaxe. Easy. Some of you must be wondering whether this tree will come to any harm, but the thick roots are not the feeder roots, so they don't really damage the tree at all. It's these fine roots that you've got to keep. So there are lots of fine roots here which are the feeder roots. So these are the roots I'll keep. These big roots do nothing. So I'm quite happy getting rid of them. So bit by bit we will chisel away. There you go. Wow. Get it off. Brute force. Oh, that's not a bad root. I'll keep that. Crowbar. It's coming. There you are. And that's the start of a good nibari or root base. So this is a very respectable front of the tree. To use the other side. But anyway, that at the back didn't look right. So this is okay from here. And this thick root with a router, you can carve it with a router and make like two fine roots. I've shown that in one of my books. These roots also need to be taken out. As is often the case, what you thought might be the front sometimes can not be as good as the front. So I'm now looking at what I thought originally was the back of the tree, and now that I've removed some of those ugly roots, that side here looks very, very interesting. So this is a possible front because the spread of the root is very nice there. I can only need to shave a bit of that off. That's quite an easy job. But if I look at the tree again from my original front, this was my original front. Those are the back branches. I can spread this out a bit. So there are many possible options. But the more I look at the tree, I'm more drawn to this being the front. And if I use this as the front, I will probably have to get rid of this branch and just have it like a twin trunk. That's a very nice base there. Because the other side is not as interesting. If we use this as the front, that's okay as a back branch. And this could be hollowed out. It's a very difficult choice, and I'm still contemplating which to use. So this is typical of instances where you cannot decide what to use as the front of the tree. So before we make an irrevocable decision, we may need to do that. But I think if we remove this part, I don't think it would detract from using this at the front. If I remove this one, this can still be the front and this can still look interesting. And if I use the other side as the front, by removing this, it wouldn't do much harm. I will cut this off. Let's knock it out with the hammer. Ah. Now let's see what it looks like. These can be wired a little bit. So this could be a nice front. I think I will leave it like this for now and then do a bit of wiring, and then we'll come back to it the next day. As you can see, we've removed quite a few branches and we are still not decided as to what to use as the front. This is quite interesting because we could do a bit of carving there, and these branches can be moved out this way. Can you see the shape of the tree? And that can act as a back branch. It's very powerful, this side. But if I look at it from the other side is also nice. You've got to imagine that this is not there, so we're thinking of the tree without this. But this is not very nice from this side, and this is ugly from this side, but it can be used as an effective back branch if I use this as the front. Again, I'm still drawn to this as the front. I'm opening this out This is quite pleasing here. These can be carved a little more and wired out. I may do that and put it in a temporary pot. We are now teasing the root ball, and as you can see, although we removed a lot of the very thick heavy roots, we have lots and lots of very fine feeder roots, and these are the roots which will sustain the tree. So although we have removed the thick heavy roots, they will not affect the well-being of the tree, because the feeder roots will sustain the tree. So we're continuing to remove a lot of the soil so that we can fit it in a large training pot. We have a thick root which we're going to cut, so I'll just show you what we're going to do. And some of these thick roots can be cut as well. So as I said, these thick roots are not that crucial. It's the thin roots that we need to save. So wherever we find the thick roots, we're going to get rid of. I thought I'd show you what we discovered while teasing the root ball. We have found that this tree has been growing on our nursery for the last 30 years. And I forgot that it was originally planted in a white round plastic pot. And you can see the plastic pot in here. And when it was grown on the nursery, just placed it on the ground and the roots came through the pot. And these are the roots that have come through the pot and have established themselves and have become really thick. And that's what made the tree grow so vigorously. And of course, while it was growing in the pots, it also developed all these fine roots. But all these thick roots are now what is causing a big problem for getting it into a bonsai pot. So we're going to have to remove these roots somehow. So we are either going to chop it off with an axe or cut it off. We don't like using saws on roots because they blunt the saw. So I'm going to see what I can do to get rid of it. It's not often that I have to resort to these means, but sometimes this is the only way you can get these thick roots out. If you just get a shot of this, you can see how thick that root is. It's almost like bigger than the palm of my hand. Right. Now we got most of it out. That's it. Look at the debris we got out. It's not too bad, this fits. So I'll train it in here for a while till it grows, and then we will see where we go from there. So we have finally put this large maple in this Japanese clay training pot, and as you can see, it fits quite well. And I've done some very rudimentary wiring just to splay the branches down a little bit, because as you know, most trees, when they grow in freely, they tend to grow upwards, and with some of these bonsai we don't want the branches going too straight, so slightly up but not exactly horizontal. After all, maples are not like pines, so we don't want a pine image. So this is what I'm going to do, and some of these can also be wired down, and the leader is probably going to be this one, but I'm going to grow that to pull it up so that we get a better taper. This will be cut back, but I don't want to cut it just yet. I'll cut it in the summer, and perhaps we can do some carving to the tree. So there are many possible fronts to this tree, and whoever buys this can change it if they want later on. As I said, this is a very beautiful front here, as you can see, and we could probably make it a short tree with just this part. So this would make it a very lovely tree. So this is a possibility, because this is beautiful. as I've always said, different people have different visions of what a bonsai should look like. No one person has the absolute right to say that this is the best position and this is the only possible position. Everyone has their own view of what a tree should look like, so we should respect that. So because we are a commercial nursery, we grow these for other people to enjoy. So I've done the basic work, and it is now for the future owner to take it forward. So this is all I've done, and I'll just, as I say, do a little more wiring, and I will probably take another picture in the summer when it's going well to show you that this tree will not have died, and I can assure you that this will not die. So although I've shown you some very drastic work, as you can see, the roots that we took out just now with the pickaxe was all that. Look at all that root. And this is the secondary pruning of the roots. We took out a much bigger amount earlier on, the surface roots, and then the thick branches, we took a lot of the thick branches off too. There you are. So all that is the debris from that tree. So when you're making interesting bonsai, you've got to be bold and imaginative. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much.